So, welcome to Famous When I'm Dead, a podcast where professional creators hand you the tools to thrive while you're still alive. I'm your host, Sam King Davis. If you have any questions for me or guests, you can email us at famouswhenimdead@kingdavisart.com. If you want to stay up to date on upcoming episodes, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find those along with all other show notes in the description below. So today, I have professional illustrator and cartoonist, creative entrepreneur, my homeboy, Chance Mcgee.
Wow, man. That's pretty awesome being on the other side of that introduction. I keep hearing it because I listen to all these podcasts. Being on the other side is really nice. Very nice.
Cool. I'm surprised we haven't done it earlier. Now we're almost this is number 30, 35, 33. I think this is the 33rd one.
Yeah.
So yeah, surprised we didn't end up doing it earlier. We have definitely enough conversations to make several podcasts. It's too bad we didn't record all that.
Yeah, I know. But, I think doing this podcast with you is a little bit strange because we know each other so well.
Uh-huh.
It's like, I almost feel like I shouldn't be here because we just talk all the time. Like we talk at least once a week,
Yeah.
once or twice. So it's like, anyway.
Well, we'll talk about that stuff too. I mean, I think this will be it'll be like a mix of stuff that we talk about normally, some questions that I have, but also kind of like stuff that we both talk about anyway to help each other more, but this will be geared more toward the audience and people listening. All right, cool. So I think we should start by just if you can give kind of an overview of your entire life from birth until now.
Okay.
No, it doesn't have to be all that.
I came out of the womb May 22nd. Yeah.
So just like maybe pointing out kind of where you got started and when you knew you wanted to be an artist, and then some struggles and things that you went through, and then kind of how everything came back full circle to where you're at now.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess most of it started like most artists, you were always drawing, you were, most of us were like the art kid in our class. People would ask us to draw the Dragon Ball Z character or whatever, Looney Tunes. And at a certain point, it just becomes an extension to your identity. And it goes back as far as I can remember. I was always the art kid. Like that has always been the case. And I think the real transition started probably when I was like 11 or 12. My father was really immersed in the O.J. Simpson trial. And this was a big deal. This was all on the news. I mean, that tells you how old I am. But my father was like, he was watching every little interview, and, he was really into it. And this is before I even knew what anything meant back then. But I just remember coming home one day, and my father had a bunch of these. My father, he was an alcoholic. He drank a lot. And he didn't just buy like one beer. He would buy like a big box of beers. And the beers came in these big cardboard boxes, and they had these little cardboard dividers to divide them. And my father took the cardboard dividers and he started drawing the drawings that he was seeing on television from the O.J. Simpson trial, because you had the artists. They didn't have footage of,
like the courtroom artist. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I remember coming home one day, and my father had a bunch of these cardboard things on the wall because he hung them up. And I remember it was like my first gallery show, was walking home and like looking at these things on the wall and thinking, whoa, like my father did this, he drew it. And those must have been like the best drawings I've ever seen. I'm sure if I look back at them now, they wouldn't look that impressive. But I was so impressed. He did it with like a ballpoint pen, just like, something he had lying around the house. He must have did like 6 or 7 of them. Um, but it was something about that, like just seeing like my father do that and hang it up, and us coming home and seeing it. I don't remember him talking about it. I don't remember what he said. I just remember that experience. And I think from that day forward, like I had a different relationship with my father because he noticed how interested I was in those drawings that he did. He already knew I liked art, but it was something about me being connected to what he did, and he started supporting me a whole lot more with art. And he was always kind of like, yeah, my kid likes to draw, but it got to the point where whenever we had guests over, he would always say, hey, my artist, my son's an artist, he can draw you. Why don't y'all sit down? My son is going to draw you. And that became like a normal thing, and that lasted until I moved out. Like whenever we had guests over, my father would insist that I draw them. So that was like the real catalyst. And then yeah, the next chapter was me getting a job actually drawing caricatures when I was 16 or 17. I can't remember.
So you
At a
guys didn't make like a OJ Simpson trading card kit or anything like that?
No, we probably should have. It's funny because I don't remember much about the OJ Simpson trial. I just remember the drawings he did. So I didn't even know that it was OJ Simpson. I just knew it was like something on the news. And then later on, my mind was able to like figure out what it was.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's such I mean, man, I don't want to, we can keep going with your story, but that's such a interesting like part of American history and just world history and like race history. I just totally forgot about that until you said until you brought OJ Simpson up again. But yeah, okay, so we'll stay on track, not to divert, because there's like so many interesting things to talk about even with that and that OJ Simpson trial. So anyway, you became a caricature artist?
yeah, no, that that happened when I was 16, and at that point, 16 or 17, and at that point, I was the best artist in my high school, and I was known as the art kid. I was like vice president of the art club. I was, pretty like, I felt pretty
Who was the
good.
president?
The
Your dad?
president was actually it's a funny story, but she was she identified as an artist, but it was more like photography. She didn't really draw. She just liked the idea of art, and that's a funny story. I remember when we had the vote for who was going to be president, I was showing everybody my sketch pad, and she was talking to people. Like she actually had discussions with people. So she was like a person, and I was just an artist. And it took me a few years to realize that like people don't care about your art; they care more about the person behind it in a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
So
Once you get to a certain level, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
the personality, and she had a better personality in terms of just selling herself as an artist.
And she was a girl,
Of course,
so
yeah,
that's
is
an
that
advantage.
it? So so I thought I thought I was good, man. I thought can we curse? I thought I was the
Yeah,
shiz.
no, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah. And
You
when
were
I
gonna
got
say you
this,
thought you were the shit.
yeah, then I realized I don't need to say it after I said shiz. It wasn't necessary. But when I got this job drawing caricatures, um, I remember bringing my portfolio to be interviewed, and the guy who takes people and looks at their artwork, he was the part owner of the business. He was a good artist, and I'll never forget, like when he looked at my work, he was kind of nodding his head. He was like, yeah, it's okay, it's okay. And I remember thinking, like, what do you mean it's okay? Like, I'm the best, dude. Like, ask anybody, all my friends will tell you how good I am. I was so certain that I would get the job because I always had this image that I was good for my age. um and I realized he didn't care about that. He didn't care how old I was. He just looked at my art and just judged it on its merit, like if it's good. And so I got this job, and I spent like the first 7 or 8 months, I don't know how long, just literally drawing lines, like Karate Kid type of stuff, like lines and circles, and redrawing eyes with markers. And that's when I realized I wasn't that good. I was not as good as I thought I was. Like sitting next to these really good artists who would draw live, like it's nothing like watching a caricature. You know that feeling, man.
Yeah.
When you watch, like Manny do his thing, or Paul or somebody, Joe Bloom. You watch these people go live, and half of them don't even use under sketches. And watching that blew my mind. Going on a sheet of paper with a marker and making a masterpiece in like 5 minutes, the time it takes the person you're drawing to finish their, chicken leg or whatever they have at the theme park. And I remember being blown away because I didn't think you could do it that fast with that quality. And so I worked there for like, I want to say a good 3 years. And it was always in the summer.
Well, let's talk
And
about that for a second because that's something that I can relate to too. Like when I went to college, when I went to junior college, it wasn't quite as much of a smack in the face because
mm,
I was pretty good, and there were other people that were good, but like I didn't really respect like their style or whatever. I wasn't really that impressed by it. There was one guy that was a painter that was good, and I just really thought he was probably better. I mean, he was definitely a better painter than I was, but it wasn't like quite a shock. And then, when I got into, and, when you're young, so, we're speaking to all of the artists that haven't had this experience yet, if there's any of those listening, but like when you're young, and you're in your family and you're in that small pond and you're like the only one in that pond, well, of course you're the best. I mean,
right.
you're the best by virtue of the rarity. But then when I went to college, it was like I was so confident, man. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking tear this up. Like I'm gonna just smash this. I'm gonna be so good. And I got into the bachelor program, art school, and oh man, that was like leveled me. It just leveled my pride immediately. And then I had it again whenever I went to ISCA for the first time. So this,
Oh man, I can
for
imagine.
those who don't know caricature, there's the International Society of Caricature Artists has a convention every year, and all of the world's best basically gather and they compete. So I thought I was a pretty good caricature artist, like I was pretty decent, and I went there and like, oh yeah, maybe I could take home a prize, my first year. So I go in and I'm like, should I just give up now? Like, should I just save my time?
When
So
did you go to ISCA? Like when was that? Like was it before or after you finished college?
Oh, that was way after college. It was
Oh,
like
okay.
maybe 6 years ago.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
went to the first ISCA. And so anyway, the whole point or advice that I want to give to young artists or people who haven't experienced that, put yourself in the the shark pool. Like put yourself in the pool with the best and be prepared to be humbled and be prepared to learn. A lot of artists like already got that concept by now, but if you haven't done that yet, like I encourage you to like always put yourself in a community. Don't look at people from afar and admire them from afar and like just think, oh, I'll never get there or they're so good, I'm not as good. Like actually talk to those people or join the association that they're a part of if you can, or try to get into that social group. Ask them to critique your work if they're willing, and you'll see really quickly like most of those people are pretty generous with their critiques and pretty will give you some like invaluable information and motivation to move forward.
It's interesting because I know you've been talking about how important it is for you to actually create that kind of environment, especially for younger people who, during this climate don't have that opportunity. That seems like a really, a really amazing opportunity to take advantage of this program that you're putting together because it creates that environment for people.
Hmm. Are we gonna plug Sketcharium now? Is that what we're doing?
I was trying to do it like kind of I'm trying to sneak it in, but I mean, I was
Well,
blown away. I was blown away by this promo you put together. Like, I legit wanted to sign my daughter up, and I realized she's only 1.5, so I need to wait at
oh,
least 5 years before I do something like that.
yeah, yeah.
But like, seriously, dude, like what you're doing is necessary. It solves a problem that a lot of people
Yeah.
are dealing with.
Well, for those of you who want to, you can go to sketcharium.com. There's going to be an ad halfway through this interview anyway, so you can listen to that too. But yeah, we're building a online new kind of online learning environment and community. So check it out. I think you'll love it. I'm really excited.
It's gonna be awesome, and I think it's easier for me to say because I don't have to be as modest as you are because you did it, and I'm not gonna be modest. It's incredible what you're putting together, and I really think we can talk more about this later. Why not? I'm just gonna talk about it now. But I really think the problem, and I was so terrified, man, when my wife and I, she got pregnant. We planned that we wanted to have our child, but I remember being at festivals and drawing and seeing these kids who were glued to their phone. You know that those kids who literally won't like look at you because they have to look down at the phone, and if you move the phone a little bit too far out of their vision, they start screaming.
Uh-huh. A
That was
total
my
addiction. Yeah.
that was my fear, dude. Like if my daughter, at the age of like 1.5 gets addicted to that stuff, there's really no coming back.
Hmm.
And I really was inspired because you asked me to look at this video promo you did, and I was like, yeah, I'll check it out. And I was out with my dog and everything. But I remember watching that video and thinking to myself, as you were explaining it, like, this solves that problem because it wasn't just about, teaching people how to draw or something like that, but it was specifically dealing with the fact that young people aren't being challenged. Their identity is primarily centered around the types of entertainment that they like. Um, and that's kind of how they relate to each other. Oh, I like this game. I like that kind of, and it's cool, to have those things. But
Hmm.
the idea of like having an identity associated with a passion that's linked to personal development, whether that takes the form of physics or architecture or music or law, medicine. But art is such a good place to start that, and I feel so grateful that I had that opportunity at a young age. And I'm sure a lot of artists listening, they probably don't realize like this is such a good opportunity to have if you, especially if you're young, but even generally. But you presented it in a way where this is what young people need.
Hmm. What you're talking about now, for people who don't know, this is actually it's called Drawing Our Future. So this is not Sketcharium, but the Drawing Our Future is geared more toward kids. So of course you can check that out if you'd like to. I'm starting classes next month, but it's drawingourfuture.com. Um, so yeah, that's what you're referring to. The Sketcharium thing is a little different. It's more geared toward adults. But yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
But yeah, man, I mean, the thing is, it's inevitable and we're not going to stop it. And the phones are always going to be a part of human life now, at least for the next 10 years until we start plugging our brains in directly. So we have to adapt we have to approach people where they live, and if they live on their phones, then we need to like create things that ways that they can learn and use their phones to learn about um, life and reality and creativity and collaboration and all of that. So this is not a sponsor, but this is something that a podcast that I listen to is his sponsor, which it's a really cool, it's called Mightier. So for those of you who have kids, it's just mightier.com, and they basically use games to teach kids about emotions. And it's on their phone, and I guess they have a watch, and it like monitors their heart rate, and then they can play the games and like increase their emotional intelligence and increase their um, emotional vocabulary. So
Mm,
yeah, check that out. I found that really interesting.
mm. Yeah.
So back to Chance's life.
Yes. I love talking about myself. um, no, but so I got this job working at this theme park, and for 3 years I was working next to people who were 10 years my seniors. Some of them had even done commission work for Disney. They had a an actual freelance career. um, and I'm sitting next to these guys drawing caricatures next to them, and for 3 years straight I just felt like garbage, like terrible. But I was learning, and I knew I was learning. I knew I was getting better. but the standard had, went up so high. It was like no matter how hard I ran, like I couldn't quite catch up to it. And it kept moving. That line that I was trying to reach kept going up higher and
Yeah.
higher. And mind you, that happened when I was 16 or 17, and like you said, anybody who's at that age, a little bit older or whatever, it's like this is the time right now to put yourself. The sooner you put yourself in an environment like that, the better. Like you'll learn a whole lot around people who make you look bad, and that's what you want. You want to look bad next to
There's
people.
just no way. There's just no way to grow as quickly as you can grow when you're in that environment, and there's a couple of quotes that I've been thinking about lately. One is my quote, which is all growth happens outside of the comfort zone. Um, that may not be 100% true. There might be a little bit of growth, but it's so slow that you're going to be dead before it matters.
Right, right.
So like if you really want to grow, like you got to be in a place where you're uncomfortable or pushing yourself. And then actually the quote came up in a different way by Jim Rohn, who by the way was Tony Robbins' mentor. And what he said was that all profit, I think it was Jim Rohn. No, it was some other like business philosopher. Anyway, the quote is like all profit comes from risk.
Mm,
It's the
mm.
same principle. Like you got to get out of it. The comfort zone is just you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You're not going to be challenged. And for me, like I have to be forced to well, that's not totally true. I automatically put myself in challenging situations, but I think that most people there needs to be a consequence right there. There needs to be like something chasing you or some kind of pressure to or else, why would we do it? Why would we be motivated?
I think that's it. Like that's the key, and the sooner you find that key, the better. Um,
And our society today is like built around comfort. We have more choices than we've ever had. We have more health. We have a longer lifespan. We have, more wealth than we've ever had. Everything is essentially provided. We have more pleasure than we've ever had. We have more information than we've ever had. So it's like, I feel like these days, you really gotta find it. You gotta really find that place of that like forgery. Like you have to like forgery is not the right word. You have to find the fire and like
mm,
because it's not gonna come after you. You can live a long, comfortable life until your 90s or hundreds and die happily and comfortably these days.
I mean, I see the thing is, I actually admire people like you because I feel like you have more of a like run first, you know, think later type of attitude. I mean,
That's
you
the ADHD, man.
no, but it's like you're the kind of guy. I watched this trailer to a movie. It was really intense with Michael B. Jordan. I forgot what it's called, but it's basically like John Wick except Michael B. Jordan. Um, Something like Remorse or No Room for Remorse. But there's this scene at the end of the trailer. You know, his wife gets killed, and he's like trying to find everybody who killed his wife. And there's this scene where he like wrecks this guy's car and he's like trapped in the car. He's pouring gasoline on the car and then he steps back and he like throws a match on the car. The car is like in flames. This guy is freaking out in the car. He walks up to the car, opens the door, sits down in the car next to the guy, a burning car, and puts a gun up to him and says, "Tell me what you know." And I'm just like, that's so intense, like that's so intense.
Wow.
And it's something about like being able to to not just like run into the fire, but like create the fire, like to create the intensity that you need to learn and then to like put yourself in it willingly. There's something about that. And I feel like I've never been that good at that, like I'm more inclined to, if I'm by myself on my own, I'm more inclined to like fall into my comfort zone and do the things that I like. And that's why for me, I need that environment. Like I need to be in an environment around people who are like way better than me and pushing me. And I know without that environment, like it's hard for me to find it on my own.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that we have to really understand who we are in order to fit in the proper places or to like operate in the proper areas because you know I'm 36 now and I just now like started to accept the ADHD diagnosis and really understand that. But
mm,
I've understood myself in many different ways through 12-step recovery and inventories and meditations and it goes on and on philosophy, blah blah blah, on and on and on and on. So I've tried to like reflect inside in many different perspectives as possible, but I'm still learning every day. But what I have learned and what I have accepted is like the way that I am, the way that my brain works. I have enough time to look back at my life and see how I operate and realize that I'm probably not going to really be able to change that. And it would actually take more energy to try to change that than to like just accept it and kind of uh, direct it in the right direction.
mm,
So, like I think it's important, and this goes to artists too, who think that their style isn't right, or they're not good enough yet, or whatever, like this like inner critic. I think we have to totally accept that whatever it is about ourselves, like who we are, and then secondly, we have to realize is that who we are fits into a part of society, even if society, and especially if society tells you that you don't fit, or you have a disorder, or you're different, or you're a minority. Like just a, off the top of my head, quick example, like ADHD is a perfect example. It's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Well,
mm,
guess what? Guess who had ADHD? Fucking Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Edison, uh, um, the Virgin Mobile guy, Branson, Richard Branson.
mm, mm.
Like people who push the needle, people who push society forward and take those chances and jump off that cliff. Um, those are the ones who, so it's not necessarily a disorder. It kept human beings alive long enough to get to where we are today.
Mm.
But also, we do still need the people who aren't like that also, even though that's the minority, we need those people too. And like, so there's room for everybody, everybody has their place. Um, the last thing I'll say about this, I don't want to take up too much time on this, but one thing that's interesting about attachment theory and family dynamics and family psychology and stuff is that um, there is a field of psychology which is probably most prevalent today, which is it's like I don't know the technical term, but it's like family dynamics. Maybe it's like family systems psychology, but basically what it is that um, when they look at someone who has a mental illness, for example, they look at the whole family, like where they're growing up, particularly the nuclear family, like the one they're growing up with. And then they can look at the aunts and uncles or whatever. But what they find is that the person who has the mental illness most of the time actually fits quite well into the family dynamic. It's just that when they leave the house and they go to work or they go outside of the house, outside of the family, they don't fit well in society because they have this mental illness or this
Mm.
this problem. Um, so I don't want to minimize mental illness because I know people that have schizophrenia and it's a profoundly sad thing to and hard thing to deal with. But I just find it interesting that like there's two ways to look at that. There's like the way that this person doesn't belong, or if you want to have a bigger view of it, it's like this person belongs somewhere. Like this person has a function and has a purpose in society as a whole.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Sorry, that was like way too long of a philosophical rant.
I don't know, man. Those rants are somehow where most of the insights are, the things that veer off topic and sort of recontextualize everything. That I always learn
I don't even
something.
remember where we started.
It's where we're going. Um,
Oh, there we go. Ooh. The
no,
wise one says.
all right, I think I was talking about my life because this is turning into a really long story. I'm a
Okay.
storyteller.
So
I like,
so you moved in, you were working with these artists, and then you went into this other job in politics, right?
Yeah, that's kind of
Wait
a
a second. Wait a second. We're going to take a short break, a short commercial break from our sponsors. Hey, thanks for watching Famous When I'm Dead podcast. This episode and all future episodes are going to be available on any one of your favorite podcast apps. I'll also be making all of my interviews from last year available as we move forward. This podcast is free for you to listen to, but it is not free for me to produce. Currently, it's about $140 a month to produce this podcast, if and I hope I can keep my video editor. So I want to give a shout out to the patrons, Tom Lambert and Lynn Davis at the $10 level, Chance Mcgee at the $5 level. You can find him on Instagram at Chance Mcgee Kunst. If you are still listening at this point, chances are that you do get value out of this podcast. If you are able to and you want to show us some love, be sure to pop over to our Patreon page. It's Patreon, patreon.com/famous when I'm dead. The link will be in the description below. If you're strapped for cash and you still want to show us some love and support, make sure that you share the podcast with friends, family. Maybe you have students that might be interested in hearing the stories of these professional artists. So make sure you go to Instagram at famous_when_I'm_dead and stay up to date on all the new exciting stuff we got going on. Thanks for watching, and be sure to leave us a thumbs up and a comment below.
Yeah.
And we're back. Chance is about to fill us in on the story of his life. So you moved from caricatures to this political job, right?
Yeah, that I mean, in between that was college. And college was a funny experience because it was almost like the inversion of the caricature thing, because I was in an environment where the standard was actually kind of low, surprisingly low. I went to the Columbus College of Art and Design, and maybe like 80% of the students there were kind of like fashion designers who wanted to learn how to draw, and or photographers who were kind of interested in portraits and stuff like that, like drawing. And just a lot of people who didn't really care so much about drawing. They liked the theory of art, like art theory, that type of stuff. So it was kind of like I was part of a minority in the college, like a small minority of people who actually wanted to really make a career out of drawing, using drawing skills specifically, painting, things like that. And in college, I met a lot of people my age who were really incredible, but they weren't into caricatures. It was like I was exposed to a really huge spectrum of excellence from so many different things. And in college, I realized I didn't really know what I wanted to do, really. So I went through a year and a half of college, and after a year and a half, I basically like quit. Like I dropped out of college. And it was in that time when I was trying to find myself, I came across this sort of political movement. It was more, I didn't know it was a political movement. It was called the Schiller Institute. And they talked a lot about history, art, science, a lot of, deep subjects. And I was really interested in it. And they were like, hey, you're an artist. Can you, help us do art? We're looking for artists to work with us. So in my mind, like, oh, I can get a job drawing art and learning about history and working with other young people on this stuff. And I did that for about 10 years. And it took me about 5 years to realize I don't like politics, really. It became more and more about politics to the point where it was like, I realized something inside myself was pulling away from that and trying to go back towards art, because the extent to which I was doing art was mostly graphic design and video editing, and I enjoyed that, and I learned a lot, and I got pretty good at doing that kind of stuff. But it wasn't art. Like I wasn't in an environment where I felt challenged. It was just, hey, can you help us make a banner for our website, or we want to have a little animation in the video, and that kind of stuff. And most of it was like overly political. And so I lost my passion for what I was doing. And I did that for another 5 years without having any passion and just kind of doing it.
So you kind of ignored your heart, or you ignored your gut.
I ignored my gut for 5 years, dude, and I felt like I was dying. Like it was intense.
Wow, we share that. Go ahead.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I was in sales, which I enjoyed sales. Let me see if I can put this in a nutshell. And I did it for a long time, but then I got to a point while I was in college, I was working, making great money, like way more money than other people my age. And man, I just felt sick. I got sick. I wasn't throwing up, but I would go to work and I would feel like a sickness in my stomach, in my
yeah,
chest.
yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I don't know, I've probably told this on the podcast before, but this woman actually, I was like considering it and I was considering starting my own business and I had money saved up. And I was talking to some people about it. I don't remember the woman's name. I wasn't that close to her, but she was like kind of on my team or working on the same project. And she was really nice, had this like nice facade. And she grabbed me one and pulled me into her booth. And
What?
she said, you like with just right in my eyes. She's like, you better get the fuck out of here right now, or you're gonna get stuck. You're gonna get a wife, you're gonna get a kid, you're gonna have a mortgage, and you're gonna be stuck in this fucking gray box for the rest of your life. And man,
Damn,
thank
that's
God for that
intense,
woman.
man.
Thank God for her because like after that, I just knew I had to leave, you know?
That's intense, dude.
I was trapped in it though, man. Like even after that clear of a sign, I still went to my manager and I was like, well, if it doesn't work out, can I come back? Will you hire me back? And thank God my manager was like, no, because you have too many absences or tardies or whatever, you know?
Oh wow, yeah.
And like no, forget about how good of a salesman I was. They were concerned about the tardies, you know? And the reason I had absences and tardies is because I hated my job. I was like trying to get through it, but I just couldn't do it anymore, you know?
You literally just described exactly what was happening to me, except instead of sales, it was like political organizing and, going to meetings and making phone calls. And, thank God for people who are passionate about that kind of stuff and, want to commit themselves to, making the world a better place through, protesting and do what makes you happy. But it was not making me happy, man. It was making me miserable. And I came to Germany, because I wanted to try something new. We had a branch in Germany, and my girlfriend at the time,
The
she
Schiller
was,
Institute.
yeah, in
Can I say
Germany.
something about, I know I'm talking a lot. I try not to talk as much on these, but I want to say something to what you said about happiness because I think that's commonly a shallow way that people think about it. I think that maybe to go a little bit deeper on that, um, you know, I guess this comes from kind of the Buddhist principle, but it's like happiness isn't really even in the top three. But what it
Mm,
is like it's purpose, you know?
mm.
And people that are in your job, it sounded like that was their purpose. They wanted to carry that message to people. They wanted to influence people and get them to see their philosophy. But it sounds like it just wasn't your purpose.
Yeah, yeah, yes. I think you're right. What you said about purpose, that is key. But it's like, to be more specific, man, I I spend a lot of energy trying not to offend people, and I'm just gonna say it, but you ever have like the Jehovah's Witness like knock on your door?
Yeah, of course, everyone shuts the door, right? Or I'm busy now.
Yeah, but then it's like, you kind of like you look through the door hole and you see this person who's dressed really nice, and you're like, well, who is this? You open the door and they're like, hi, I'm the Jehovah's Witness and we want to talk to you about God. And you're like, oh shit, like, but now you're kind of stuck because you don't want to just like slam the door. I'm not that kind of person to slam the door. So I'll listen. I'll sit there and listen, for like 45 minutes
Even though you
and
don't want
not
to.
and
Yeah.
not even like want to, have this discussion. Um, and I feel like a lot of people in that organization were like that. They were like the person who it was like being in the Jehovah's Witness. It was quasi a cult, like in that sense. Because it wasn't like and I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for those people. I'm sure maybe they are passionate and they have a purpose in that. And fine, if that's what gets you happy, fine. But I saw people around me, they were miserable, dude.
Mm.
And it wasn't like they were doing it because they felt passionate about it. It was like they were doing it because they were afraid of what the other person would say if they didn't do it.
Mm. They
And
were
it's like
afraid.
this,
They were playing on really human instinct, probably the strongest human instinct of banishment from the
yes,
social group.
yes, exactly. And that, you don't notice it at first. It kind of, you're kind of doing your thing, and a year turns into 2 years, and after you know it, some guy is trying to have a talk with you and have an intervention about why you should be more passionate about what you're doing because the cause, they like using the word the cause, the
Oh, they use
cause
the
is
word
more
the
important. Oh
cause?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's
it's
cultish, totally.
like, whoa, man. And I didn't know, it's like a slow, and then like 5 years of that, and at a certain point like your body's like, you get, and I had like a quasi like seizure episode. I don't know what to call it. It was like a one-time episode of multiple sclerosis. That's the thing that the doctors were able to describe it as. And this was literally after 5 years of ignoring my soul and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
literally not. And I got to the point where I
It
couldn't
was
even walk,
it
dude.
was your body telling you this is enough.
And that happened, man. And long story short, like I was like, I'm out, and they were like, okay, get better. And I told them explicitly, I'm gonna pursue art the way I want to do it, not this graphic design, making maps and all this. Nah, nah, I'm not that. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here for something else. I don't really know what it is, but I know it's not this. And I really liked caricatures, so maybe I'll try that. But I don't know how to do that now that I'm in Germany. It's a long story about how I got here, but I'm in a different country now, and I'm like starting over. It's like I'm trying to get back to where I was basically 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And my German's pretty good. Like I'm able to talk to people and whatnot, but if I'm trying to like call people at a festival and ask them how much a booth is and what the size of it is, and like that kind of stuff, like I was uncertain about it. My wife helped me a lot, but I didn't know how to get started, man. And around that time period, like my wife and I, we both kind of made a commitment together. We got married, like that same year. Like I quit.
After
My
you
wife,
left?
yeah, it was
Nice.
it was like the same exact year. And then a year later, my wife quit, and like we started our life over. But like in between the time my wife left and I left, we had our honeymoon, and we drove to Prague.
Uh-huh.
And guess who I saw in Prague? I saw
Yeah.
you, dude. Like, and I'm telling you, man, I was at this point in my life where I knew I wanted to do something else. Like I had made the commitment, I'm done with this. I'm gonna pursue, art, but I'm an American and I'm in Europe, and all the people doing it, they're not that good and they're not that serious, and the prices are really terrible. And then I'm like walking in Prague, and I see this dude like making intense eye contact with me.
Have you heard of Drawsome.com? Of course you haven't, because it hasn't officially launched yet. But I have talked to Manny Abatizian, the founder, about it in detail, and it's gonna be awesome. The Drawsome app is an exciting new platform that's coming soon for artists and art lovers that is going to change the game. It's a creative social marketplace where artists can post their artwork, receive commissions, and even turn each post into a print-on-demand product that's drop-shipped directly to your customers. That means people can choose if they want your design on a print, mug, t-shirt, whatever, and you don't have to deal with the printing or shipping. You want some of that, don't you? Hop on over to drawsome.com, that's drawsome.com, and sign up to be the first to receive updates and news as soon as it's launched in iOS, Android, and web.
He got this glow in his eye. Like I'm not used to seeing that glow from Europeans. You're like, hi, how are you doing? Like perfect English. I'm like, oh dang, this dude, he looks American. He's got an easel. He's drawing caricatures. And I'm telling you, dude, you like started a new chapter in my life. And I can't understate that point enough. Like that discussion we had where you were like, hey, so you're a caricature artist. And I was like, yeah, I do this too. And you were drawing me and I was asking you all these questions. I was like, we should stay in contact. And you're like, yeah, do you know about ISCA? I'm like, what is ISCA? You were like, dude, what are you talking about? What is ISCA? You should be in ISCA. And you telling me all these people's names. And gave me all this stuff. He's like, you should just do it. Now that was what I remember the most. I was telling you what I wanted to do, and you said you should just do it. Don't think too much about it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Um,
It was
and
so cool.
that,
That's so cool because it was like the part of me that it was like that feeling in me or that realization in me after I did quit, those moments like after I quit my job and like started my own business, that part of me, like those moments came full circle when I saw you because I saw your excitement and your enthusiasm and I was like, we just connected like that. Like those that moment of kind of like freedom and hope and like possibility and like a fresh beginning, like all of those feelings were just like we just connected right away on that level,
yeah,
you know? Like
definitely,
like
man.
my first night, like because when I quit I didn't go straight into art when I quit my sales job. I actually started a hot dog business. So I was out in front of a stadium selling hot dogs and it was horribly cold, hardly any sales, terrible, uncomfortable, horrible, everything. But I was so happy that I had put this thing together and I had started. Like this was my first night out. And it took months and months and months of organization to like pull everything together. So I'm out there working. I got my truck parked behind me. The night ends. I've sold 3 hot dogs, barely enough to cover like anything. I lost a lot of money that night.
Mm.
So I turn around, I walk back to my truck, and I had 2 boxes, which equaled $100 worth of like all beef hot dogs, and they had been stolen out of the back of my truck.
Oh
And
man.
that moment was actually like one of the sweetest moments because you would think that I would be pissed about that, but I just laughed, because it was like, I was like, I don't know, I can't describe it. I was like, you can't fucking hurt me. Like I just like made this business myself. Like I
Yeah.
quit my job. I disconnected from the umbilical cord. I took my mouth off the teat and I like went out on my own and like I did it. Like I didn't, it wouldn't matter if my truck would have, blown up. Like I did it. I made it happen and I got away from that system.
Yeah.
And that feeling was like just so powerful. And that's
And
kind of
this,
the feeling I got from you when I saw you. You were like, I saw this like almost like hope in your eye.
I'm telling, see, the thing is, man, and I don't know how religious you are, but I definitely believe in destiny. I don't believe in predestination, but I believe in destiny. I believe like every person has a calling, something that they're meant to achieve, whether it's like being, the president of the world or America, or whatever, or just figuring out a way to teach that little girl down the street, how to love herself and be a better human. You hear these stories of, these really amazing people, um, who achieve these great things in their lives, and they always tell you a story about this. I think a really good example is, I mean, Martin Luther King is a good example. I mean, he's very familiar to people, but he um, he was sort of given an opportunity because the shift had already occurred, like in America, to make a ruckus and start to shift things. You had the Brown versus the Board of Education. They were trying to integrate, and this guy, this young preacher, basically was told, "Hey, we need somebody to be the face of this, and it should be someone fresh." Um, and I feel like whoever the people were who played a part in putting that decision together, like that was part of their calling in life, was to put him there. um I'm kind of going on a very long tangent here, but long story, the main point I'm trying to make is, I definitely feel like having that discussion with you at that time was very important because it shifted my life in a lot of ways. Because and also the friendship we had afterwards, I would see how you would just start things. You would come up with an idea, and then literally a day later you were already kind of moving the wheels and trying to you know put things in motion to create a new booth, like build a whole new booth to your caricature business. And I remember juxtaposing that to the way that I would think. It was like, oh, I want to do something, I should do research and I should spend all this time trying to figure it out. And you kind of you were a healthy juxtaposition to that habit that I had. Um, and I think since then, like my life has changed dramatically because I came back and I started drawing, at festivals, and I realized how much I enjoyed it. We started working together at festivals. I also, met some other caricature artists here. Paul, if you guys don't know about him, you should check his work out. Paul Ebenezer, really amazing caricature artist. You got one of his characters on the wall back there. Um,
Which one?
and
Oh yeah, you can't see it. It's
yeah, you
right
can't really
there.
see it. Yeah,
Right
it's
there.
on the wall. Dude's amazing. But it's like suddenly I was doing the exact opposite of what I was doing before, and it was what I enjoyed, and it was working with people that I enjoy working with, and that's been basically what I've been doing. I've been getting better at that. I've been doing more of it, and then Corona happened, um, and when Corona happened, I just tried to. I was in denial, I think, for a long time, but for about 6 months, telling myself, the festivals will open back up.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, and but now it's just I really leaned into the commission work. I was doing a little bit beforehand, but at this point, honestly, man, I'm just starting to figure out what I'm not willing to do as an artist. I mean, I think after quitting the Schiller Institute and really going into caricatures and working at these festivals and working with people that I enjoy working with, I really filled up my passion tank. Like I realized how much I was passionate about that, and I realized just because somebody's willing to pay you for something doesn't mean you should do it.
Yeah.
And I would get
That's
these.
the that's the big thing. What you just said earlier too. I want to restate that point is that before I became an artist, I thought that there was very limited opportunity, and after I became an artist, I realized there was like too much opportunity, and I had to realize like it's not what I'm saying yes to, it's what I'm saying no to. It's
Right.
like there's just as a creative person, someone who's dedicated your life to creativity, whether that be design, art, painting, uh, all other forms of creativity, you just got to really figure out like what you don't want to do, um, and then turn around and just focus on your truth, what you do want to do.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at now, man. At that point, like exactly what you said, and I'm
And
getting a better sense.
that's what makes you, and that's what makes other creative people important and rare and valuable to people who didn't follow that path, or people who didn't or aren't creative or aren't interested in it. Is because like if everyone that was creative in high school that was still doing it now, they would be a badass. I mean, I guess it
Yeah.
depends on how old you are, but like,
Yeah. Oh,
uh,
yeah.
but the thing is like it's about the sticking power and the people who have dedicated and made that choice. No, I'm not going to take that job that's going to pay me six figures. I'm going to keep doing art. Eventually, over time, they become the authorities and the experts in that field. And that's what makes like good creative, reliable creative, skilled people such an important part of society.
Yeah, and it's always like it's this challenge like between security and fulfillment. And for some people, it's all about security. Like I want to do the thing that has the most security. And a lot of times that comes from external forces, like the parents, tell them they can't pursue art. They should be a doctor instead because there's more security. And the parents say it out of love, they love their children. They want their children to be secure and not to suffer, like perhaps they have themselves. So they say, pursue that. And then they're miserable. Um, and then, of course, there's the people who are passionate, they want to pursue passion. And a lot of times, just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean you can make a living for it. If you're really good at, um, you know, signing your name in sand or whatever, and that's kind of cool. You can make videos and that you probably could, be the best person at that and make a living. But the challenge I feel like is trying to take that passion and monetize it. And I feel like that's where especially for artists and like creatives, we start to feel kind of um, like we're cheating or we're not being true to ourselves because we're trying to monetize our passion. And
Hmm.
sometimes that may mean adjusting your focus. And a lot of people think, well, no, I have to be true to myself. This is what art is to me. I'm not gonna, draw that stupid, Mickey Mouse character because that's not my whatever. But there's something about being able to take something in front of you and mold it into something you're passionate about. And for me, like the thing I realized that I was most passionate about was working with other people, which is strange because that's not a thing. It's not like,
I want to stop you though, because now you're getting onto a point. I want to make a point off of what you just said. I want to like put all of it into one phrase for everyone listening. Nobody cares about what you're passionate about. Period.
mm,
People only care about what value that you're bringing to them or what value that you're bringing to the group or to humanity or to their cause.
mm,
You know, I don't care that the guy next to me collects stamps. I don't give a shit. But if he's bringing value to me or we're collaborating on something or we're creating a bigger value together, then I care about that.
mm.
So you were actually just about to go into that. Like you said that your passion is working with other people. So now you're getting into the reality of the situation, which is like that's what we're here to do. We're here to create value. We're here to make humanity better. We're here to pack something new or pack something into the stream of life.
Exactly, man. I mean, I think what you said too about bringing value to something, and that's really what people care about is the value that you bring to whatever it is you're offering. And that um it's a funny thing because you know I feel like being really good at something is valuable, but being able to make it relatable to other people is more valuable. And I'm not really sure how to describe it, but I noticed how I noticed after a while, like I was posting a lot of my artwork on Instagram. It took me a while to actually figure out how to use Instagram, but when I did, I started posting my artwork. And I even now I still struggle with this. I don't like posting things that aren't finished. I don't like posting things that aren't good. Um, and what ends up happening is Instagram becomes a portfolio of my best stuff. Like if I post something and like a month later it's not as good as the other stuff, I'll end up deleting it, because I'm trying
Mm,
to purify and make it like the best of the best. And that doesn't get you that far in today's society because what people want is they want to feel engaged. They want to feel like you're starting a discussion. Like
mm,
I think you were the one who told me this. I can't remember.
mm.
Tell me if you did, but like the
I
strategy.
don't remember, but yeah, we're on the same page for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, it's funny. I don't remember where some of these ideas come from, but it really affected me is that this idea that if you're using for very specific, if you're using Instagram as a portfolio versus a conversation, you're going to get very different results. And in some cases, the comment that you post is more important than the post itself. And if it's something that people can relate to, and it's not like you're trying to think of what's trending on the internet and trying to figure out how to write something that incorporates these trending hashtags or whatever. There are people who do that, and that's artificial. And I personally don't think you're going to get that far. If you do, you're going to be exhausted. You're going to
Yeah,
be
it
completely
burns
burned
bright,
out.
but it burns out quickly. Yeah.
But there's something about being able to take what you're passionate about and really pour yourself out in a way that engages other people, that it allows them to participate in that dialogue that you've created. Um, so that's something that these are kind of like new ideas, and I'm really trying to figure that out. I feel like I have this tendency to be a perfectionist, to want to overthink things and want everything to be perfect. But I'm slowly starting to think, I don't really care if this is the best thing or if this isn't, 100% finished or,
Hmm.
if, for a long time, I didn't like the idea of doing fan art. you know, because I didn't think it was true. I didn't think it was myself. And I just posted this picture of Storm from X-Men I did as a collaboration with another artist. It was so fun. Like I really enjoyed that. And I
Yeah.
never would have posted that if it wasn't for him creating the subject. You know, I just colored what he did. And I want to do more of that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, I mean, for me, collaboration is important, and that can take the form of drawing caricatures at a booth. It can take the form of working with other animators in a team. Um, to me, whatever environment I'm in that requires collaboration is what I'm drawn to. And if it requires excellence on my part and I'm able to grow artistically, that's what I'm drawn to.
Hmm.
And there's so many things. There's like an infinite amount or an almost infinite amount of things you could do related to that subject.
Hmm. Yeah. So that's where we'll end it, man, because we're at right at an hour now. Yeah.
Awesome.
So next time, I do want to have you on again. Next time, I want to talk to you about NFTs, the non-fungible tokens, the art trading market that's blowing up right now. And then we never got to 10 rapid fire questions. Let's see if we can do the rapid fire questions, real rapid fire.
All right,
Yeah?
quick, quick,
Okay.
quick.
Stand up or skip. Okay, now it's time for rapid fire questions. Stand up or skit comedy?
Stand up.
What is your last meal?
Hot wings.
Nice. What book are you reading right now?
The sun does shine.
By who?
Oh God, the author's name just left. He was one of the people who was represented by the lawyer whose book was made into a movie called Just Mercy. I can't remember the name of the
Okay,
author's
The Sun
name.
Doth Shine. Look it up.
The sun does shine.
And favorite new band or musician?
I don't listen to new music enough. The last one was Sarah Stewart.
Sarah Stewart. What kind of music?
It's like light alternative rock type of stuff. She does covers. She did some Rihanna covers. Um,
Okay. And the next question is actually more of a conversational one, but let's keep it to a one word answer. So the internet finally switches over. Elon Musk has his way. We can all plug our brains into the internet and learn kung fu in 10 minutes. Do you stay, and that happens tomorrow, do you stay unplugged or do you plug in?
Damn, dude, that is such a good question.
Yeah, that's a conversational one, but
Man, I don't know. Like, I don't think that's something I would decide like this fast.
okay. So undecided. Okay. So you're
Okay,
trapped.
I would not do it. I would not do it. Like,
That's your instinct.
and I'm willing to change though, but I would say no. Like at this
So,
point.
okay, okay. Well, yeah, I would probably wait a little bit too. Okay. You're trapped on an island and you can bring one object. What is it?
An island. Okay, that rules out all electronics. I would bring jeez. I think I would bring a um I would bring a guitar.
Okay. And I'm going to skip that one. That's another one. That's a conversational one. Okay, we'll ask. If you had $1 billion, what would you do with it?
This is gonna be boring, but I would reinvest it.
You couldn't keep any of it. You have to do something with it.
Oh, I had to do something with it. Oh man, I want to build something. I would start an animation studio. Can I do that?
With
Like,
$1 billion, that's going to be a badass animation studio.
yeah, but if you had to spend $1 billion, I mean, I'm okay. If I had to spend it all,
You could start an empire with $1 billion.
I want to start an empire. I want to like, you know what I would do? I would start an academy for classical music and art, like a university, like a international academy for that, specifically geared towards young people. And I would find the best artists, um, and it will probably end up being like online or something, but I want to like create an environment where people could be brought into that at a young age.
Well, guess what? You can do that with a lot less than $1 billion.
Oh yeah.
Uh, okay, I won't go into this whole narrative, but if you had to distill the best advice for artists, prospective artists and young artists today specifically 2021, what would it be?
Fail fast.
Okay. And you
Hurry
have
up.
one week to live. What do you do?
I think I would take a trip to Tijuana, Mexico, get some tequila, um, find a place, probably not in Mexico, a little bit safer to sit on the beach with my wife. And I would look through pictures and drawings that I've done over the years and fill a sketch pad up with drawings and thoughts and things like that to leave for my daughter
Hmm.
and whoever is going to be around.
Oh, that's a nice one. I like that one. Yeah. That's a more thoughtful answer. Most people say I just spend it with my family, but that's a more thoughtful answer. I like that. Cool. So how can people find you?
Chance McGee Kunst, Kunst. Instagram, Facebook. That's also my website, which I'm upgrading now, but that's where you'll find me.
Yeah, and if you want to take animation classes with Chance, he'll be on Sketcharium.
Yeah,
I
let's
just
do it, man.
I just threw him under the bus. He did not agree to that, but hopefully he will. Okay, so thanks for watching and or listening, and tune in next week. See you then.